Hello, good evening and welcome to the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester and thank you for joining us for episode 142. As you can see, we've got a full strength squad tonight, unlike our football team. Welcome to Knocking Tyler. Thank you for giving up your Monday evening to talk about the miserable Wolverhampton Wanderers. On tonight's show, we'll give you our Burnley player and match analysis, talk about your reap what you sow, take some of your brilliant questions and look ahead to the cup game against Chelsea on Wednesday and another trip to London on Saturday afternoon. Knocky, straight to business, no messing around. We're starting with the big points. And someone's put up tonight, they want to know about Jeff Shee. And is he hiding behind? So we're off to an absolute flyer. The first question is, is anyone prepared for a situation where Jeff Shee appears from behind Knocky's blinds?
I wouldn't make him a cup of tea if he did turn up. I'll be doing something else, but there you go.
Anyway, that's enough fun tonight. Tell me about Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, Burnley 3.
You may as well just copy and paste what I said against Sunderland, to be honest, because it was very similar. I don't know why I was as ratty as I was coming out of the ground, because I thought we'd lose. I said on the podcast we'd probably lose 2-1. I think it was the manner that we lost. I think when you look at the performance, the way we approached the game, it was another promoted team, and it was another promoted team that looked sharper than us, that looked fitter than us. They were quicker, they had better movement, they had a better shape, they had a clear identity of what they wanted to do. And it was another game where we were almost going through the motions again, weren't we? We just felt like we didn't want to be there. The same complaints I had about Strand Larsen being a coward last week are exactly the same this week. Arias hiding last week again, hiding this week. And there was just some really poor individual displays from players that perhaps you don't expect it from. I thought Krejci was really poor. He was caught out badly for the first goal, but all three goals were pitiful. I know we'll come on to them a little bit later. But it was just collectively a really bad performance. And to be 2-0 down, Molineux it wasn't toxic. I don't think we've got toxic in us anymore, but it was ratty. And then to get yourselves back in the game. And for that 10-minute spell, I thought that Wolves were actually good. I thought that Burnley were rocking. We had them on the back foot. There was an opportunity to press on and probably take the game away from them. But for some reason, we went in at half-time, we retreated again, got back into our shape and didn't really allow Glover in the second half, other than a couple of half moments here and there. So really disappointing display. Another defeat, another poor performance, and a captain who spent most of the time waving his arms around rather than doing anything else in the game. So collectively, a very, very poor performance, and probably for me feels like the final nail.
So other than the positives, let's move on to the negatives. Tyler, it's hard to sort of take much lift off and get away from what Knocky's saying. It's an incredibly disappointing performance in afternoon, and it's the one so far this season that's really hit home with me. There's been a few games I thought we might beat Leeds. I expected more at Sunderland, but to lose in the fashion that we did and concede another late goal that's taken more points off us. I mean, that's 3 of the last 4 games we've conceded a goal that's cost us a point or 3 points. And it's so painful. I mean, it's no longer a coincidence now. It's incompetence.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said and Knocky said. I mean, I'm a bit like Knocky. I was sort of expecting it, and it sounds bad. I wasn't even that bothered when they scored the winner, because grand scheme of things, what difference is that point? You know, it's nothing. I tweeted after the game that we've lost at home to a team that didn't even want to win the game of football.
It's a great tweet.
And if you break that down and realise how bad that is, I don't see how there's any way of coming back from that. Kyle Walker, you know, obviously brilliant legend of a Premier League footballer, pure housery, did not want to take that throw, did everything he could do to not
experienced
take
professional
those throw-ins. He just wanted to kill the game. They had no interest in winning it, and we've managed to lose it from I don't even know how, and I probably was a bit more accustomed to it. I think I've seen it coming maybe a bit longer. I think, obviously, Ryan, everyone knows you're a bit more positive than myself, but you know, I went up to Sunderland and that was the same. The second goal went in and me and my lad just got up and walked out. It's taken it out of me. I don't think there's anything left to necessarily give or to almost say on the matter, which isn't great for a podcast, but we know where we are. We've seen it come in. No surprise at all that Burnley came and turned us over. And I think more than you Nocky tweeted today. I mean, you look at the fixtures and you can't see anything before the Christmas season. You can't see a winner. We've not even played Liverpool, Arsenal, Villa. We've had a decent run of fixtures, to be honest, and we've got 2 points, and that's staggering. And we'll talk about it, but as we've said before in the past few weeks, the club's an absolute mess from top to bottom. We sort of hoped Pereira could sort of protect those players after what happened last season and make us difficult and hard to beat, but it's a toxic environment for everybody there by the looks of it, isn't it? And we've seen that at the weekend with Pereira on the pitch, Jose Sarr in the car park with fans. It's toxic. It's just not a nice place to be. And we are where we are because we deserve to be there, Ryan.
Yeah, we'll move on to the reaction at the end of the game, particularly the drowning out of the boos and the chants, and obviously the reaction from the manager going beyond. But we're just finishing off with the game, Nocky. The most painful bit for me, Nocky, and people may have seen this differently, and Tyler sort of tweets somebody, well, Burnley didn't seem overly interested in winning that game in the second half. The longer it went on, the housery, the time wasting, the taking your time. It was like a classic Burnley performance in terms of time wasted we'd seen over the years. But they were experts at it. They were experts at it again yesterday. But the fact we've managed to throw it away, and Wolves had the opportunity to put so many crosses in the box, but the lack of quality in the final third. Where's the ball that the keeper can't get, that the defenders are turning and heading it out? There's none of it at all. And I keep talking about Fer Lopez. Yes, he's not the finished article, but he talks about pre-game. He's a locksmith. He's someone that can put that ball in, someone that could thread something behind, create something different. Just relentlessly, Rodrigo Gomez give his all, didn't really have a great game. And to bring Hwang on against a team against a low block, I just don't understand what I'm missing. I mean, maybe you could help me see different.
No, I just don't think they're good enough. I think it's as simple as that. The players just aren't good enough. I mean, we had a spell for about 10 minutes towards the end of the game where we were trying to win it and we were putting balls in the box, but we didn't put a single decent cross into the penalty area. And you had 2 where you had Tyler who will challenge for everything, and you'll have Strand Larsen who's tall. But you've got to put those balls into dangerous areas, and we just didn't do that. Set pieces were poor. But you've touched on Kyle Walker there. That's the issue with our transfer window. I mean, Tyler was a bit of a fan of Granit Xhaka. Why aren't we challenging for him? Granit Xhaka and Kyle Walker improve us instantly, but we didn't. That's not part of our strategy because we can't make a profit off them. So we go and buy young kids who just aren't good enough. And the squad collectively is just nowhere near good enough. That was when you've played the 3 promoted teams and you've lost, 8-3 on aggregate. You're not good enough. It's as simple as that, because it's a massive step from the Championship to the Premier League, and we've all seen that over the last couple of seasons. The teams who've come up have got a little bit more about them, and we are just absolutely wretched. So we can't put those balls in the box because we haven't got the quality to do it. We can't hold the ball in midfield. We've got no attacking threat through the middle. The wide players, I love Hugo to bits, but he's a Championship player, if we're being brutally honest.
Well, he's a left wing back. I don't think he's an out-and-out winger. He's a left wing back for me.
He's not a Premier League player, is my point. He's not good enough to be in this division, as much as I like the kid. And then you look at Fleming's performance compared to Strand Larsen. And I know I'm digging Strand Larsen out at the moment, but I think it's relevant. That performance from Fleming, he bullied our back line. He had hands on Bueno. He threw him around. He did the same with Krejci, dominated both of them. He's smaller than Strand Larsen. And yet Strand Larsen, for the second week in a row, has been in the back pocket of a Championship centre-half, because he isn't physically dominant enough. Zian Fleming just beat us up. He beat us up the whole game. He scored 2 goals. Granted, there were goals that never should have gone in, but he was everywhere in that attacking area, and he wanted the ball. He was screaming for the ball. He was demanding it, and he was just playing us around, and he was dominating us. And then you compare that to Strand Larsen's performance, where he was more a cheerleader than a footballer. And that's why we're in this situation. You've got players who don't believe in themselves. You've got players who aren't good enough. And there's just a genuine lack of quality. So to answer your original question, we don't create chances because we're not good enough to create chances. The team are where they deserve to be. And I think when you've done 9 games of the Premier League and we've had probably the easiest run we've had at the start of the season for probably 5 years, you sat on 2 points. You're not there by accident, are you?
When it's so bland, Tyler, and you keep repeating the same things over and over again. I mean, we've said this with so many different managers. This seems to be the downfall of nearly every single manager that you see that falls at a football club. Only the very elite managers will tweak and change. but middle of the road managers have the same favourite players. They keep repeating and do the same things. Why does that keep happening to Wolverhampton Wanderers? Because there's certain players like Strand Larsen, for someone that isn't fit, he's played 90 minutes, 2 weeks on the bounce, and his performance does not warrant that. As Nocky said, he's been bullied all over the place. If you've got an injury and you're carrying it, be honest, don't play. Or if it's affecting you, you have to be honest about it. But the manager needs to protect him and us as well. You signed a £24 million striker with 20 goals last year. That's a handful. We've seen he can finish already. It just seems like favourites, and I just don't understand why we just keep repeating the same thing and expecting something different.
Yeah, the Tolu one's a strange one, and we spoke this morning, didn't we, Ryan? And the only thing I can think of there is that Pereira didn't want him, didn't want to sign him. He doesn't fancy him, does he? The guy got a few minutes at Sunderland, a few minutes on Sunday. You don't fancy someone. You don't want someone if that's the case.
Well, he has to be fit by now. There's no excuses.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So he doesn't. That's why he doesn't fancy him, does he? Strand Larsen, we can stop talking about this injury because, like you just said, he's played back-to-back 90 minutes and he played 75.
It just feels like do you know what? I believe there is some kind of knock, but stop telling us about it because if you're not fit, don't play.
Well,
you need to be honest. Or the manager shouldn't play him because I'm sick of it. We don't want excuses. It's been horrendous. He's a huge.
He's confused. Again, I wasn't on the podcast last week, but we spoke in the week, Ryan, and what did I say? I said, get your big lump centre halves back in. They've got a bit of pace. I can see that. I'm no expert. I'm just a fat guy from Shirley that watches a bit of football. It was crying out for us to have a bit of pace and strength at the back against their physical centre forward and against a team that are going to look to break at pace. We can all see that. We can all see what's coming. Why is he taking Hugo Bueno off again for more
the best crosser on the pitch? I mean, I don't know if he pulled up a little bit. To be honest, I don't know if that was the case.
I'd rather have 10 men. I don't care. Every time Muller Wolf comes on, we concede a goal. It's happening week after week. Jackson again, bless him, just not good enough. Plays the striker on for the third goal. He's 5 yards behind anybody else. 2 home games in a row. He's cost us goals. Nocky's right. The players just aren't good enough, and you can sort of forgive that to a point if you do really see effort, blood and thunder, commitment, or at least a style or a way of playing. I don't see anything. I don't see what they work on. I don't see any patterns of play. Burnley had the ball for sort of 2 or 3 minutes a couple of times in that game. They just kept it, recycled it, moved us around the pitch.
Looked comfortable, little triangles. They looked like everything that we were. I mean, yeah. Burnley looked like if they face quality opposition that can move the ball quickly, you could score goals against Burnley, as teams have. We don't have that. So when they got the ball, then there was little triangles thinking, my God, they're playing so much nicer football and then just making it look really easy. Their game management was just far superior, wasn't it?
Let's not forget that was their first away points of the season. Let's not forget.
Yep. Nocky, just moving on to sticking on this point before we move on to the goals. We talked about, like I said, talked about the locksmiths and trying to open the door with different people. We all knew Burnley are happy to give up possession. They're happy to tuck in. Surely you pick the team that's suited to playing against the team that are going to tuck in and do that. I just don't understand. The substitutions made no sense. It's so frustrating. Look, again, the changes bringing Hoover on at Sunderland made no sense. Starting Hoover made no sense. Bringing Hwang on for Arias, as Greg said, made no sense. There doesn't seem to be anything that's making sense from the manager at the moment.
He doesn't know what to do, does he? I still think he doesn't know his best 11. I don't think he ever wanted to go to 4 at the back, but I think he almost got bullied into it in a sense because it was all going wrong, and he tried it out for a game and it kind of worked. He doesn't know how to get out of this. He's a manager who looks absolutely broken to me when you see him, and he's trying to stick to what he knows and what he thinks is effective. That's why you see Hwang regularly. That's why you see that the same players coming on, because he feels more comfortable with them. I mean, we dropped Gomez, and I know we have this disagreement as to whether we can play with Gomez and Andre together. He'll do that one week, and then next week he'll probably take Andre out and try and put Gomez back in because he's just fiddling with things to try and find something that works at the moment because he doesn't know his best 11 and he doesn't know how to get the best out of them. But when you've got a Strand Larsen who's not affecting the game, and you know my feelings on Larsen, but whether you like him or dislike him, he was having no impact on that football match. But you're giving Tolu 6 minutes to come on and win you a game that you absolutely have to win. And you're bringing him on and you're playing him up front with Strand Larsen, which I know you think that might work. I don't think that's ever going to work with them two lumps up together.
It looked to me like Strand Larsen went more right and he put Tolu through the middle. So I don't really know what that would achieve.
You're just throwing bodies at it at this point, aren't you? I mean, we needed another striker, and I like Tolu. I think there's something about him. I don't think he's going to get too many goals at this level, but he's definitely got something about him. Why on earth did we sign him? Because that's not a plan B for me. A plan B has to be someone who gives you something a little bit different up front. Because the centre half are comfortable, aren't they? And you're just bringing on a like for like who's a little bit more physical, but he's not going to do anything different. He's not going to run in behind you. He's not going to pull out and get space and pick the ball up and drive. The only other option you've then got is to bring on maybe Hwang and stick him in that area. So why on earth didn't we get some kind of plan B that was a little bit different rather than buying almost a carbon copy of Strand Larsen? But you could pick through lots and lots of decisions that have been made by the football club, the manager, by Tete, but everyone involved in it. And you can find faults everywhere because collectively it's a disaster. We've just been nowhere near it.
Absolutely. Well, it's hard to find any positives at the moment. And lots of fans have been talking about that. This is episode 142 of the Wolves Report with Mark Knight, Chris Tyler and myself, Ryan Lester. So far, nearly 900 people live watching the show. We're 17 minutes in. If you are following us for the first time or you haven't, please drop us a like, a follow. We are live on YouTube, Facebook and X, formerly known as Twitter. And then we're uploading straight to Spotify afterwards. So your likes, your follows, we're continuing to grow the show. I know we're not talking about wins, but your support is very much appreciated. Nocky, let's talk about that first goal. Actually, Tyler, let's talk about that first goal. Yeah. Now, I like an old school Paul Cook crossfield pass, and I've been very complimentary to Krejci. I just don't understand how you could suffer a ball from inside their half, lofted, to leave the centre-back in the middle of no man's land. Johnson was not expecting the centre-half not to get that. He was in no man's land. Granted, for me, it's a very cultured finish. I can't take that away from him. But to be allowed that space from such a straight pass, I just don't understand how that happens.
I think it just sort of sums up where we are, doesn't it? The goals we're letting in at the moment are just bonkers. And if you're a Burnley fan, it's world class, isn't it? That's how you describe it. You sound the left back.
I think the finish is fantastic. There's no getting away from that.
I don't know. I'm looking at the goalkeeper, and I know Johnston sort of come in and sort of freshened up that position. But for me, you can't get beat from there like that. There's no pace on the ball. I know it's gone in the corner, but you're right, Ryan. His positioning is horrendous. If he's another 3 yards back, he just falls on that ball and catches it. He's got caught out, so he's not expecting the early shot. And fair play, early shots often lead to goals, don't they? Because the keeper's not set. But from our perspective, it's just another disaster of a goal to concede. Your centre halves are, I mean, God knows where they were. They were nowhere near it, were they? Such a simple
the gap between them. And I mean, I really like Krejci. I like Krejci a lot. I think he's probably our best centre back. He's certainly one of our best footballers. But defensively, I don't know if there was a lack of communication because, I mean, sometimes if you're playing with a higher line, you could expect your keeper to be heading that away or doing something. But they both just watched, and it was the simplest of simple goals. It was like...
is how everyone looked when it went in.
Literally, everyone was like, what's happened here?
What happens? Yeah.
Absolutely terrible.
You just can't give goals away like that in the Premier League. You just can't. And we're doing it, obviously, week after week after week, but you sort of don't want to be too harsh on Johnston. Some people argue for the first at Sunderland and even the own goal, he could have probably reacted a bit quicker. He certainly could have reacted a bit quicker to that for me. And it's almost like we're talking about the goalkeeper situation again as well, aren't we? But for me, I know we're going to come on to it. He's just got to revert back to that three at the back because I don't think you can see that goal. If you've got,
you don't. There's naturally that space, isn't there? You've got your sweep or your right centre back.
Yeah, you don't concede a goal like that. You might concede a goal another way, but you don't concede a goal like that.
Shortly after Nocky, it got twice as bad. Little ball ended up going to look sort of across the centre back. knocked across the face of goal, showed more desire and strength in the centre back, thumped it into the top of the net, 2-0, easy peasy.
We were just static, weren't we? We were just absolutely static. Similar to Sunderland's opening goal where they passed through us, we just ball watched. We just stood there and ball watched. And I know we're talking about the second one, but I don't think any other team in the league concedes that first goal. And I don't think too many concede the second goal because we just watch him cross it. And how's Fleming in that much space? And this is my kind of issue with Bueno. As much as I think he's a decent player, he's physically not strong enough to compete with that kind of centre half. Yeah. And some people want a foul. It's never a foul for me. That's what football's supposed to be. It's physical.
No, he showed more desire to get the ball, and it's a physical game. It's a great.
I personally think he's pulled a shirt and it's a foul. I'm not saying I've got an issue with it, but the rules to me were quite clear that if you pull somebody's shirt, that's a free kick.
But I think Bueno grabs him first, though. I think Bueno's got a hold of his shirt as well. So for me, 6-1.
They've let it go, yeah.
It's one of them, I think. If the referee rules it out, I don't think VAR overturn it. So it's one of them that can go either way. If it's my player, if it's Strand, well, it wouldn't be Strand Larsen because you don't get near enough the centre half. But if it was a Wolves player who'd scored that goal, I'd want the goal. I'd be furious if it was ruled out. But you've got so many opportunities to stop that from happening, haven't you? You've got to stop the supply line. And the guy's done nothing to get it back across the face of goal, is he? He's just in acres of space. It's a simple tap across and then bang, it's into the back of the net. Just, as we said, it sums up exactly where we are at the moment. We just can't defend.
Yeah.
Ethan Howlass, has he been sacked yet? No, Nocky signed a year extension. He'll be with us in the Championship. Still under negotiations with Tyler, who I don't think will be here. I think he'll be off to another Premier League podcast. This is episode 142 of the Wolves Report with Mark Knott, Chris Tyler, and myself, Ryan Leicester. 2-0, looked dead and buried. Tyler, Santiago Bueno got himself in a good position, clattered, and for me, yes, you might say it's soft, but he's clearly got the man first, and that's a penalty.
I do think it's soft, yeah. But if their goal stood, you're sort of then hoping that the consistency stays and you get the penalty. I think there was a bit of surprise when the ref gave it. I
wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, I don't think real time necessarily there were any shouts for it or the crowd, but I think that's probably because we were on the attack as well, if I remember. I think Krejci had a chance to shoot.
Yeah, he was about to lay back for a shot, I think, yeah.
And then he's given the penalty and you're like, okay, fair enough. We've been due one, haven't we? Let's be honest. So that was good. And he hasn't made amends for the goal that Nocky just talked about, but he's in the right place. He's had a bit of a kick to him. And you know, Strand Larsen, for his critics, converted it well. Should have just picked the ball up and run back to the halfway line. Doesn't need to go to the North Bank and start waving his arms. Just get on with it. The way you're playing, mate, just pick the ball up, dust yourself off and go again. But
I mean, it was his first touch in the game. It was his first touch in the game and half of football, so we'll give him that.
It gave us a lifeline, didn't it? And I'm sure you'll talk about the next goal. But yeah, for the next sort of 10, 15 minutes, we saw a bit about Wolves and a bit of an organised chaos. And to be honest, there's been twice this season when I've enjoyed it, and it was the 10 minutes yesterday and the 10 minutes against West Ham in the Cup. Apart from that, I'm struggling. But yeah, back in the game, and he took it well.
For me, then, Nocky, one of Wolves' best players on the day, Bellegarde, has a big part to play in the equaliser. Really good work. A rarity this season from someone actually driving at people and being direct and using his bit of pace and strength and going forward, gets the ball in. I think there's some fantastic athleticism from Krejci that somehow manages to wang it over. And then Manetzi, with his second touch of the game, puts it in for 2-2. I think he had 4 touches the whole game.
I really like Bellegarde's performance. I thought he was excellent, in all honesty. He didn't deserve to be on the losing team. He drove well. He got us up the pitch, didn't he? And it was a good ball in. And Krejci, to be fair to him, he didn't have the best game, but that was a lovely little hook across. And Manetzi, he just seems to be in the right place at the right time on occasion, doesn't he, when the ball's in the box? He doesn't do a great deal else, but he does look like a player who can find a bit of space. And it's a decent header because there's not a lot of pace on the ball, so he's got to generate it himself and get it down. And, you thought from there was a chance we could get a point out of the game, but weren't to be.
Last but not least, the ultimate heartbreak again for the third game. Well, 4 games in a row, Wolves conceded late goals. That's got to be a mentality issue. But 3 of those 4 games, it's cost Wolves points. This time in the cruelest of fashions, that Wolves looked to be in control against a team that just weren't interested in winning. They pushed up, as we mentioned. Chachwa looked like he was playing him a mile onside, tried to recover it, Tyler, but it's such a giveaway goal unnecessary. That's their first proper chance the second half, and they've taken it.
Yeah, it's schoolboy defending, isn't it? Jackson, I just don't know what he's doing.
Why is he so deep? Why is he so deep at that moment? Step up 3 yards. There's no ball to play. You've got no way beyond. You're gonna take yourself up the pitch, aren't you? There's no ball to play there.
I can't get my head around it. You know, I help with my lads under 14s team, and we're constantly saying, get in a line, get yourselves up, straight line, all of you communicate. This, you know, I mean, come on. This is Premier League football, best league in the world, and he's 5 yards behind anybody. And like Mark says, that goal does not happen if he's in the right position. And unfortunately, whether you like him or not, he's cost us points against Tottenham with the header for no reason, and points yesterday. And you know, where'd you go from it? The only thought I have is a bit of an O'Neill moment, and that would probably mean he gets sacked, but it doesn't seem that that's the case. So there is no positive from that, unfortunately. And it just helps Burnley, doesn't it? Gives them more momentum, more belief. What are we, 8 points behind them now because of that goal? I mean, the gap's
it's quite incredible, and we've not even hit November yet.
I was resigned to relegation a long time ago. That that's probably the final nail in the coffin, isn't it?
Right, let's fly through these. Let's fly through the team quickly because there's so many good questions. I apologise in advance. I couldn't get them all on, but the questions have been hammered through. I've tried to get as many as I could. So I've got some great ones to look forward to. There's a couple of tweets I want to go through before that, but let's fly through this team. Tyler, Sam Johnson, he's had a little bit of criticism, but I still think he deserves to keep his place in the team. I just think it was a lack of comms. I think his levels have been better than Jose Sar's so far this season. So
don't forget the other goal we nearly conceded when him and Krejci didn't communicate. So that's twice in one game where
the same two players not communicating.
That's a concern. It's a massive. Your goalkeeper's your biggest voice on the pitch, your biggest communicator, and you know, I asked which one of them plays. To be honest, they're both as bad as each other. But I think unfortunately you're coming into a team that isn't a nice environment to come into, and that probably initial boost that Johnston's given himself and the team, he's probably thought, he's gone down to the level. I think the same with Krejci. I think you spend too much time in this team and they'll pull you down, and I think that's happened with Johnston. But I don't think he was particularly good, but I suppose he wasn't particularly bad. I might be being harsh, but I expect a Premier League goalkeeper to keep that first goal out.
Yeah, Nocky, moving on to Santiago Bueno and Ladislav Krejci.
Bullied badly by a Championship striker, in all honesty. Didn't look at it positionally. They were both caught out very, very often. The first goal in particular, no idea where they've gone, but now we've conceded that goal. Probably they've been good up to now. I've not been able to look at them and think that they've been responsible for too much, but they were absolutely wretched yesterday, both of them.
Yeah, it wasn't a great game for them. And Tyler did mention before, maybe this was a game to have a little bit of pace back in the team. Because I'd say technically, Santiago Bueno and Ladislav Krejci are probably our two most natural footballers at the back that don't really give the ball away. But then it's the balance of they're going to get exposed with pace, and that's what happened because they were bullied a bit and they're not particularly quick. Tyler, moving on to Keanu Hoover and Hugo Bueno.
Keanu Hoover should be nowhere near any Premier League football team. He can't pass, he can't cross. His first touch is disgusting. Championship player at best, if I'm honest. At best, I've never seen.
I mean, it's crazy that from nowhere he's just come in. Doc's not even in the squad. Whether that's injury related, I don't know. And then we've got Hoover coming in again. I know Chachua's made a couple of mistakes, but I just find it incredible that Hoover's come straight back in.
It should be nowhere near it. It's not his fault. He's just not good enough to play in this league. Hugo Bueno. I'll slightly disagree with Nocky. I agree with 99.9% of the things he says, but I think Hugo has got something about him, there's some potential.
I think he's grown. I think he's grown into that left back shirt. I think he really has. I wasn't sure of him either, but I think he's been one of Wolves,
when we take him
Brighton.
off, we tend to concede a goal. That's happened more than once. I like the way he plays the game. I like his athleticism. There's no doubt his final ball needs to improve, but you could say that about all 11 of them. So it's probably still his shirt to lose at the moment, just about.
Nocky, moving on to Marshall, Manetzi and Andre.
Manetzi's performance wasn't great, was it? I mean, generally, his second touch is a throw-in, isn't it? Because he's blasted the ball that far away from him when he controls it. He scored a decent...
That touch he had, he was outside the box, trying to control the ball. He's gone out for a goal kick. And how's that happening?
It's so poor. It's just basic, isn't it? It's basic sort of... If he controls that ball, we're in a really good attacking position, but he just can't. He can't do the basics, and that's the issue. He'll run for you all day, and he'll put a shift in, as Mick used to say, and he will pop up with the odd goal. But for him to be a regular starter in a Premier League side, it's frightening, really.
When he's in the team and Wolves are winning matches, you can say it's working. But if you're a quarter of the way through the season and you've not won a game and he's a regular, he's got to be one of the people, because you need technical ability. Now, Marshall, I thought he did all right away at Spurs, he did all right at home to Brighton, he was fine. But when you're in a game like that and you're not creating enough, you need a bit more creativity in there, and not just an athlete. But
he's a bit of chaos, isn't he? He runs around, he maybe pulls people out of position because they're trying to track his run. But in terms of being effective at this level, I don't think he's fully there, if I'm being honest. Andre, I thought this was one of his poorer games. I don't think he was particularly good. We lost the midfield battle again, and not for the first time this season, against a team that are not great, are they? And we spoke before the game, and I thought I knew where the goals were going to come from and how they were going to attack us, and they did, and we couldn't deal with it. And the midfield struggled for me, particularly Andre. But Andre and Manetzi, and it's just not a great midfield at this level.
No, it wasn't one of Andre's best games. He wasn't really picking up the ball, whether that was Burnley standing on him and not letting him do that. But he quite often dominates that triangle when he's into playing. He's bringing the ball to the fullbacks, and there's little exchanges with Santiago and Ladislav. That didn't happen at all. Whether that was a Burnley tactic and they stopped it because he's our pivot, I don't know. One of the highlights of the day for me was Jean-Ric Bellegarde's performance. I know I've hopped on about it a lot, and he is flat to deceive quite a lot of the time. Particularly he's put up front, he's played here, he's played there. For me, in a 2 or 3 man midfield, I think that's his best position. I think maybe his performance was exaggerated because the fact we had someone that was prepared to take people on, and multiple times in the game he ran, and it was exciting. And Wolves have been pretty boring for a while now. So when you've got someone that's prepared to take responsibility, they're going to win a corner or have a shot. I mean, he's lucky not to score at the end. I think he had a really good game, and it wasn't quite on the levels of the Villa game when he was knocking a 9.5 out of 10. But this was a good performance, and I think if you are going to play a midfield 3 and stick with it, I think Jean-Ric should probably keep his place in the team. Moving on to the forwards, you know which one you're going to have, Tyler. Oh no, maybe I'll give him to Knocker. Tyler, tell me about John Arias and Rodrigo Gomez.
I saw a tweet earlier that John Arias is the new Steve Corica. I think that's a bit harsh on Steve Corica, to be honest. That probably tells you all you need to know about my thoughts on Arias. Rodrigo is a trier, isn't he? But I still don't know what he is and where he plays. Kyle Walker had him every time. You know, he's trying to outpace Walker. He's not up to it at this level. For me, he's a wing back in a back 3 system. Just doesn't pose enough of a threat for me to be in that area. So tries, can't fault his effort, his commitment. If we had 11 players that had his effort, energy, commitment,
yeah, he's definitely an example and tone setter, isn't he? With his desire and his press, he's got all that in abundance.
It's not, you know, it's a similar argument to Manetzi. It's not enough at this level. It will get you so far. You
can probably only have 1 or 2 of those players in your team, not multiple versions of them. Last but not least, Nocky, it's your favourite and your player of the season so far, Jürgen Strand Larsen.
Before I get onto Captain Courage, I think when you're talking about Rodrigo, this is the difference of where we are now, because he had a fantastic chance in the first half where he burst through one-on-one. And how many times from that position where Jota used to play, he finished from there, didn't he? More often than not, he was going to finish, or you had a Dharma who burst down there with pace. Jimenez.
You didn't believe for a second that he was going to finish that.
No, and that's the issue. You've gone from having those attacking quality players to having a Jean Arias who was more like the invisible man and Rodrigo Gomez on the other side. You've just not got that quality. In terms of Strand Larsen, it was abysmal. He's done absolutely nothing all season, and he's throwing his hands up to the North Bank to try and get him going after he's put in that kind of a performance. I thought he was dreadful. I don't remember him winning a header, no flick-ons. I don't remember him at any point engaging the back line and making himself physically dominant. There was a couple of times he got the ball to feet and laid it off, and that was okay. But for a player who was nudging on, 65, 70 million quid, I want to see a lot more from him. Apparently, he tweeted that he loves the club. He loves them that much. He was trying to get out a couple of months ago. But for me, I think he's one of those players that's... You see this sometimes when they're coming and they're all eager and they want to make a name for themselves, and then they maybe start believing their own press, and the agents start knocking on the door and telling them how good they are, and all of a sudden you see a little bit of a change in them. He looked like a player for me that just didn't want to be there. And the fact that Tolu's getting 6 minutes when you've got him putting in performances like that, and this injury stuff's absolutely rubbish. There's nothing wrong with him. He's playing far too much football to be injured. But the fact that he's getting to play as much football as he is, and we're not giving Tolu a run, it's just an absolute disgrace for me. I thought his performance was abysmal.
Yeah, I thoroughly believe there's an injury, but if you're playing 90 minutes, 2 weeks on the bounce, then it can't be that bad. But equally, if it is that bad, you shouldn't be playing. If that's your excuse or anyone's excuse, you should be on the bench getting yourself fully fit, because playing and not delivering, it just isn't fair, and it's pointless having Tolu. This is episode 142 of the Wolves Report, not Chris Tyler and myself, Ryan Lester. Now, at the end of the game, it turned a little bit ugly. Now, whether this was an antagonistic moment, or whether it was an error in judgment, I just think it was an error in judgment. And when you approach the South Bank, which is Wolves' most sort of ferocious stand, and they've been heartbroken again, you aren't going to get the best reaction. But these were the scenes, thanks to Ben Bradley that shared this with us. Boos for the manager. No, I mean, the scenes before that was him sort of punching the air in terms of the aggression. Tyler, is it a misinterpretation? Is he misread the room here? No, I don't mind any player or manager coming up after you've been beaten, holding your hands up, taking 10 seconds of stick and walking away. That's fine. I don't really know what this was set out to do, because I actually think Strand Larsen was doing that. I don't think Strand Larsen was antagonising anybody. I think he went up to absorb it, to show a little bit of courage, which he hadn't actually in terms of his games. But this, for me, was confusing for Vitor.
Yeah, if you read a lot too much into it, you could argue that he's trying to make himself lose his job, isn't he? Yeah, this was the tweet I was referring to. He lost his call against Brighton and boots a bottle, starts talking rubbish, for want of a better phrase. You can't confront your own fans as a football manager. There was more passion in that video from him than there was in the 90 minutes of the game. And I think it's very easy to do stuff like that. Once you're up against it, he's come on the pitch. Nobody's going to benefit from that. The Wolves fans look ridiculous, if we're being honest. Pereira looks ridiculous. Totti looks ridiculous, trying to calm the situation down. That stuff happens in private. You take your medicine, you go down the tunnel, you get in the changing room, and that's where you have your bust-ups, and that's where you have whatever you need to have. But you can't come onto the pitch and confront your own fans, in my opinion. And then 20 minutes later to come out and say that we should be proud of that team, that's like read the room type scenario. I mean, people are paying good money. I wind Nocky up most weeks about what he's paid to go and watch Wolves this season. And, we're just hardworking, normal people. And, these are all multi-millionaires. And there's a reason he doesn't last longer than 9, 12, 18 months at football clubs. And I think we're starting to see why.
Dale comments, puts an interesting comment here. He says they all misread the room. They genuinely were questioning the fans being so angry. Clearly more evidence of the disconnect between the whole club and the supporters. Yeah, just feeding back into your points there. I'm going to bring Nocky into this as well. I am staggered with Vitor's comments after the game. 2 months ago, they're cheering me on. Now they want me sacked. Let's be really clear, Vitor. It's been 6 months and 2 days to this podcast since Wolves have won a Premier League game. Pride and being proud isn't one of the words I want the manager coming out and talking about then.
We haven't won a game for 6 months. We're the only team in the top, 7 divisions without a win. We've just lost to all 3 promoted teams. So I'm not sure what he was trying to achieve by coming over. Larson, he went over for a conversation. I don't think he was trying to antagonise. I'm not against that. A bit of an apology, but I'm more a sort of go and clap the fans, whether you're getting the bird or not. Just go and clap the fans, get off the pitch. And like Tyler says, go and have them conversations behind closed doors, because nothing good is going to come of that. You don't look like you're backing the team, or you're trying to get that energy going, and that you're hurt and you're disappointed because you've just lost a game that you never should have lost. So for me, just clap the fans, get off the pitch and go and deal with it behind closed doors, because it almost makes his job untenable now, doesn't it? Because if we go a goal down against Fulham, and those away fans you don't lose the away fans as quickly as you lose the home fans, but I think he's put himself in a position now where he's put everyone's backs up a little bit. And when we go a goal down next week, it's going to be, there's going to be some real noise coming from that stand. So I think he's dropped a real clanger here. But there is a conversation. Is he trying to engineer a dismissal? Because, if he resigns, he loses a big chunk of money. He's just signed a nice, shiny new deal. So could there be a bit of that? You'd like to think not, but there's always a possibility.
Sean Face's response to one of the tweets earlier on. Sean, thank you for being part of the show. I personally don't think that is the case, but it's a valid point, and he's certainly acting a little bit different to when he first joined. Now, at the end of the game, not just only the reaction to the players and the manager, there was a lot of anti sort of Fosun and Jeff chanting. Now, I tweeted this earlier on. I wasn't the first person to mention it. My tweet said, we weren't allowed to play the liquidator, but we can turn up the volume up to drown out our fans at full time. We see you. Now, I'm not the only person to say that. Multiple people have said that you can set it just across X. If that is the case, it's just a really low blow, trying to drown out your fans. Now, granted, no one wants any criticism, but to turn the volume up and have a volume fight, I just think that's really, really poor show. Gentlemen?
Well, there was wasn't there a big Fosun conglomerate there as well? Wasn't there a fair few people there? So they don't want to be hearing that. They definitely turned it up. You could tell, because as soon as the ball hit the net, I kind of got me dad and got me lad, and we started heading off, and you could hear the music crank up a couple of minutes later. So it was obvious what they were doing. It sums up the disconnect, doesn't it? I mean, personally, I don't ever feel more disconnected from my football club than I do right now, and we've been through some really bad times, but I don't feel any relationship between us as a fan base and the club in general. It feels absolutely shattered at the minute. And this is just another sign of it, isn't it? I mean, you could bring the liquidator back. You could.
Yeah, this wasn't so much about that. This was just me making the point that you can pick and choose to turn the volume up for certain things and do it when it suits. And I just think it just seemed for me like a slippy move. People pay their money. They're frustrated. There's no win in 6 months. If people want to have a win, just let them vent it. Don't try and drown them out. Tyler?
Yeah, totally agree. I've always said you pay your money, you take your choice. And people are well in their right for me. I don't agree with it in game, but after the game, you're well within your right to vent your opinion, whether that's booing or shouting. I don't necessarily agree with people, not being one-on-one, but going at the manager and players. We just want to see the players and the managers show that much passion when they're playing the game. That's the bit for me that is unforgivable. I've not seen Vitor Pereira as passionate at any point this season as he is in that video that you've just showed. And again, for me, that is a huge red flag.
Yeah, your manager should be as determined and aggressive to win the game, not so much angry at being probably receiving some derogatory comments, which, he
must be embarrassed. He probably is a bit embarrassed by the situation. Let's be honest, he's the only manager in the country with this record. It's embarrassing for him. We'd all, if we were all the worst employee at our companies, you'd be like, oh, this ain't great. So maybe it's his way of dealing with it. Maybe he's trying to deflect some of it. But it can't be good. He's still a human being, and he's getting peppered by thousands of people. It's not going to be a nice feeling, is it? But you're in these privileged positions because you should be able to handle them better and come across a bit better. And I don't want to be seeing stuff like that. It's things like, take you back to the days of, Roger Johnson and Jamie O'Hara at Brighton, those real toxic moments. And we're on the brink of that now, I think.
Yeah, we are in danger of going back to that place again. And I mean, look at the status and what's happened to some of the Championship clubs with terrible owners. Now, I'm not sure we put ourselves in the same bracket as Sheffield Wednesday, but if you run your club badly enough, terrible things happen. So we need to be really, really careful. Now, the next section of the show was you reap what you sow. Now, that's going to go over a bit of old ground. So I'm just thinking on the spot, there's so many good questions. Should we go straight to the questions and have a go through those? Yeah, no problem at all.
People pay the money to see Nocky answer these questions, so that's what they're here for.
No subscription on the Wolves Report sponsorship only. Kev Taylor says, would you take relegation if it meant new owners? Nocky.
It's a hard one to answer because we're going to get down anyway, aren't we? I mean, nothing's going to stop that. It's difficult, and I mean, whichever way you look at it, these are the most successful owners in our lifetime, and they've given us some fantastic moments. Unfortunately, one reason or another, it's all gone wrong. I don't think the relationship is recoverable. I think that I don't see them changing their tack now in terms of being self-sufficient. I think we desperately need new owners from somewhere. We need new life brought into the club. I'd never take relegation, if I'm being honest. I always want my team to do the best they possibly can.
You think, boys, the amount of years and miles that we did in the Championship, week after week, year after year, you're a long time in the Championship, aren't you, if you're away from the Premier League?
Yeah, and we've got a lot of problems. I mean, if we get relegated, there's this £100 million loan, and we don't know exactly the workings of that, but there's a lot of things we've got to pay back before we can even consider being competitive, and that is a horrible league. You look at the 3 relegated teams last season, none of them are really putting a decent fist of it in the Championship at the moment. It's such a difficult league. We've been stuck in there for a very long time, and even if you've got a new owner, it's no guarantee you're going to come back up. So I want my football team to be the best version of themselves they can possibly be. And that's in the Premier League. So if we stay up from here, then the owners will deserve a bit of credit because it feels like mission impossible. So no, I'd never take relegation unless it was an absolute necessity, which it's going to be, in it, let's be honest.
Kev, thanks for being part of the Wolves Report. One thing I would say about Nock is in terms of crediting them for getting out of this situation. They're the reason that we're in this situation in the first place. Next up is Dave Shaw. The season was always going to be tough, but are you surprised by how bad the start has been? Tyler?
Not really, no. And people listening will probably think that's easy to say, but I think you two will back me up that I sort of said this has been coming and it's on the radar. Did I think we'd have 2 points from 27? Probably not. But I did always think we were well up against it this season to stay out the bottom 3. I thought we'd beat Leeds at home. If you took me back to that point, I predicted us to beat them. I didn't envisage us using yesterday. I'd probably think we should be on, even with how bad we've been, I think we should probably be on 6 or 7 points still. I don't think that's realistic. So I've contradicted myself a little bit. But the fact we're bottom of the league and we're destined for relegation, no, not surprised at all.
Okay, anything to add to that?
No, I think we had conversations early in the season, didn't we? And even before the season started, I think we'd identified that this club was going to concede a hell of a lot of goals and they were going to concede really poor goals. And we just looked so poor going into the season. I mean, you consider how bad we were last year, but we had a couple of real match winners in there and we had a couple of players who could grab the game by the scruff of the neck. I'm thinking Yacunyas and Ait-Nouri, Semedo to a point who gave us stability, and Sarabia from the bench. We had to spend a hell of a lot of money just to be as bad as we were last season, and we just haven't come anywhere near that. So if you sell the family jewels every year, then you eventually you're going to run out of money, aren't you? And we're pretty much where I expected us to be at this stage of the season, albeit I certainly didn't think we'd only be sat on 2 points.
No, I think just to add to that, to your question, Dave, what I would say is, although I expect it to be a tough season, after some very underwhelming recruitment, it's clear to me that the manager is getting nowhere near the best out of these players. All don't have a great squad, but I'm not sure it's a squad that should be sat on 2 points after nearly over a quarter of a season gone. Nowhere near it. Dave, thank you for being part of the...
On that though, why do you think that? Why do you think this player should be better than they are?
I don't see Joe Gomez at his best of his game. I don't see Andre at the best of his game anymore. I certainly don't see any of the wing backs. There's nobody for me that looks like they're excelling, and they're not all poor players. You don't get called up to that Brazil squad again and again if you're an average footballer. Jurgen Strand-Larsen at the end of last season was fantastic. He's a million miles off it. Tolu, an absolute handful. I mean, mid-20s, loads of goals last season. We're not seeing anything from anybody. John Arias in the World Club Cup competition was creating the most chances in the tournament. We're not getting him in the right positions. So there's no way these players are as bad as they are. Would they be in a relegation battle otherwise? Probably. But there's no way they should be cut adrift nearly November. No way.
I don't know. I think we do the Wolves thing, don't we, where we think players are better than they are. And then Tyler touched on this probably probably last season at the start around Andre and Gomez, that they don't give you anything going forward, and that's been proven. I think Rodrigo Gomez, we desperately want him to do well because he's a lovely kid. He's nowhere near it at this level. I know you two think Hugo is, but for me, I don't think he's anywhere near it. We bought in our, fourth or fifth choice right back who's giving away goals for fun. He's nowhere near it. We've got Marshall Monetzi starting every week. We've got Hwang who starts regularly. The squad is wretched. And when you look at, and I agree to a point that we should be better, we should have a better system, we should have a better way of playing, and we're not organised. But I think in terms of this squad, if you were to put this squad up against the Wolves squad that was promoted from the Championship, I think that squad beats this one comfortably 9 times out of 10.
Could you say, I mean, that's a really good point, Knocking. I was thinking about this the other day. If our forward line was Ivan Cavallero, Helder Costa, and Diogo Jota, God bless him, right? It's miles ahead of what this forward line is now. You've got pace left and right, and creativity all over the place. Dave,
you had Johnny Otto as well. Johnny Otto and a prime Doherty. You had Ruben Neves.
I'm talking about just the promoted team, mate, not the players that were signed in the first window after we got promoted. Let's move on to the next one. Dave, thank you for being part of the show. Tyler, tactical question: can you tell me our plan and shape that we are meant to be following in and out of possession yesterday?
No. You must have again say I've been saying this all season, haven't I? We've all been saying that. Who
are we? What are we trying to do?
And that's what's where the plan? I agree with you and Nocky. I agree with you, Ryan. We should be on more points, and I agree with you, Nocky. The players are garbage. However, I've always been of the argument: once a player reaches a certain level where they can play in the Premier League. They can play in the Premier League. You don't get there by luck or by fluke or by not being a very good footballer. You then rely on the expertise of a top coach manager to make those players even better. And I think when you see the likes of Eddie Howe, Unai Emery, Guardiola, Arteta, I know they're different leagues of what we are. Areola at Bournemouth's a great example. They get the very best out of their players week after week. And it's not just a one-off. They don't just play well for a week. You will get a consistency of performance.
No matter who plays.
If you look at the Leeds, Sunderland, West Ham, Burnley, if you look at their 11s, I'd argue they're much of a muchness in comparison to ours. But what they all are is better coached and better managed, and they've got a way of playing an identity. Scott Parker, for me, journeyman football manager, but he's got his team set up and they all know their role and they know what they're expected to do. Leeds United, the same. But I don't think they've got any players that are necessarily better than ours. So for me, a good manager gets more out of these players. I agree with Nocky. They'd still struggle. They might not get 40 points, 42 points, but they wouldn't be sat on 2 points after 9 games.
I mean, I think you've answered that question fantastically well, Tyler. But the one thing I would say that you've mentioned about all those teams, the difference in Wolves, there is one obvious difference. Every single one of those teams has pace. All those players have got someone left or right electric that can beat a man. Yeah. We don't have that. That's for me, as well as them looking a little bit lost with the plan and a little bit undercoached and a little bit ill prepared and a little bit lost. There's no outball, there's no pace. So it makes our task even harder because we have to play more football to get into positions. We're not going to have a maverick that can get left or right. So I think that's a big factor as well. Jordan, you create some great debate and give one of Tyler's best answers so far. So yeah, thank you for being part of the Wolves report. Wayne, do we really think changing a manager can save Wolves this season? I think this is going to be short and swift, Wayne. Do you know what? Nothing's impossible in football, and I am annoyingly optimistic. And it really pees off these pair and Mark, who's on the group chat as well. I just don't see it now. Do you know what? If the manager, if they got them to all perform a little bit better, maybe so. But when the gap's that big to the newly promoted teams already, you're in real bother. So for me at this point, Wayne, I don't think it makes any difference. Are we in agreement, gents?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't trust them to bring anyone in, do you? That's the problem. You're not going to get an established manager. You're not going to pinch one off a rival. You're going to bring in somebody from Saudi Arabia or someone from the deep reaches of Portugal. It's not going to work.
It would need to be a manager of the ilk of what we've just mentioned, and it's never going to be. So no.
Absolutely, and the problem is as well. Just finishing up what Wayne was saying. All those clubs you mentioned would have a backup plan. If their manager's not good enough, then they've got someone they bring in. If their manager gets poached, they've got someone. Wolves don't have that. They didn't have to have it after Gary O'Neill. We waited around so long for Lopetegui. It feels like complete amateur hour, and we're just winging it, and now it's all reap what you sow, isn't it? As we talked about earlier on. Let's go down to. There's an absolute stinker here from Jonty. I want to get that on. This was a cracker we put on earlier on. Jonty says, we all say how we go to games for different reasons now, but it's still a chore. So with that in mind, though, would you rather have to go to every game and go down or not go to another game and stay up? It's an absolute stinker because not Nocky, I know he goes with his dad, he goes with his lad. Us three get to games sometimes if it's an away game. We're going to be with each other to exchange some insults, to have some nice food and a laugh. Just happen to be going because Wolves are playing. So you lose that social aspect. But I love Wolves that much. I'd sacrifice not going again this season if it meant them staying up. And that sounds a ridiculous thing to say, but
I'm with you, Ryan.
That's the love talking. I'm obsessed with our football team, and I love them a lot. I've got a season ticket with them on to the home games. I get to as many away games as I can with you guys and the other lads. But if you said to me, there's a magic spell now, John, so Ryan, if you don't go to one more game this season, you stay up. I'd have to do it. It would hurt a lot, and I'd be unbearable at home on a Saturday afternoon. But I'd do it. Nocky.
Yeah, of course you would if you thought you were going to stay up. But I mean, the nervousness I'd probably have is I wouldn't get a dodgy fire stick, but if I happen to find a way to watch the football, you might get a little taste for that of sitting at home and having a nice little relax. But I'd love going to the games. I love the atmosphere. I love the smell of the pitch. I love the awful pies that we sell. It's an experience going to football, and it's one of my highlights of my life. Essentially, it's just the world can be absolutely crap, which it is at the moment, but your football's always going to be there. So not going would be absolutely painful.
It would be hard.
If it meant we stayed up, of course you'd do it.
Us three are friends because of our football team. We grew up in the same area. We're friends because of our football team, and we've all followed on from our dad's teams. And people go, as Jonty says, for their different reasons. It's a part of your life. Once you're locked in, that's it. Whether you go or not, it still hurts if you lose. So, yeah, I mean, I just don't think Wolves as a club get what it means to football fans to be football fans. And that disconnect because of that lack of not even empathy, just understanding of what it means to be a football fan. You're just a number, aren't you? Jonty, you created a great debate. And I think we are unanimous in us three will miss the rest of the season. But it will really, really piss me off if we win the League Cup and I don't get to that, because that's all I want to see before it's my time to depart.
You won't need to worry about that, so come forward.
Yeah,
I think we're safe.
We're 59 minutes into episode 142 of the Wolves Report with Chris Tyler, Mark Knock, and myself, Ryan Lester. Should we try and squeeze one more question in before we move on to the two games that we're going to win this week? I mean, yeah. Let's have a little look at who we've got. Ryan says, Fosun have no interest in trying to progress the football side of the club, but apparently not for sale. Even when they face likely relegation and the value decreases, what are Fosun trying to achieve? Now, my take would be that Jeff's blueprint, given from above, I do believe he has a free rein to pretty much do what he wants. He's only given sort of financial instructions in terms of what he can and can't spend in terms of overdraft and whatever, but got a £90 million loan, so clearly he can spend. So my take would be, as long as Wolves are a Premier League side, because that brand and that badge, although it's been used to promote esports and side hustles, such as the kit, such as the music, such as the fashion, I think there's some marketing digital thing they're doing as well now. There's all kinds of things. And then there was a relationship with Grasshoppers. For me, those things aren't possible or as affluent projects unless Wolves are a Premier League team. So I don't know. I think the aim is to keep Wolves in the Premier League. And if it's 17th, Jeffs will see that and his bosses will see that as a success. Maybe you guys could tell me different.
Is there such thing as not for sale, though? Because, I mean, apparently there's rumours that someone's putting a bid for us. Would you put a bid in if there was no chance of it happening? You don't just test the water with something like that, do you? So I don't think there is.
Just say on that, though, Nocky. So Wolves are having their worst stinker in club history, and the day after a bid comes in. I mean, imagine just doing a bit of a distraction tactic like that. It's uncanny that there would be a bid to distract the fans the next day. I mean, whether it's to go, oh, well, do you know what? Those new owners would be far worse than Fosun. And it's a talking point and it's talking away from Wolves. For me, it just feels like a massive coincidence. The day after you concede an injury time goal to Burnley to stink the place out, now there's rumours starting. I don't believe it.
Why would you want to buy Wolves now? Because if they're going to be in the Championship next year, and then you're talking 70, 80 million pound cheaper, aren't you? So I don't think any football club's not for sale. But there isn't a whole lineup of billionaires and oil barons who want to come and buy Wolverhampton Wanderers, is there? So it's a risk whenever you sell your club. You don't know who's going to take over. We felt that pain before as a lot of other football clubs. But I think Fosun they're not stupid. They're business people. I think if an offer come in that they thought was acceptable and would allow them to step away, I think they'd take it. There's no such thing as not for sale.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think although I am truly grateful for the great years we had, the European trips and that, I am grateful for that. And although as much as I moan at Jeff and Fosun, that's been the best few years of my life. However, they are rapidly undoing that work. And if Wolves do get relegated, the side that they purchased from Steve Morgan, debt-free, well, they'll be in then a worse position in the Championship because they'll have a huge debt ringing around the neck. Yes, we'll have a couple of memories, but you'll have undone all that hard work and you left the club with a massive debt. So I think now the relationship is as far as it can go, and Wolves are just a stepping stone business model with a fancy and iconic badge that's used for business. That's my take. Tyler?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you've said. I don't really know what they are trying to achieve anymore, to be honest. I get the idea of, just staying around the Premier League because it's profitable. You're in the best league in the world. Makes total sense. But as soon as Wolves get relegated, you don't want to be the next Sheffield Wednesday, but it's not just Sheffield Wednesday. Villa, Blues, West Brom all had
Cardiff.
Chinese owners that all lost interest as soon. Yeah, Reading might have been that they were Thai, I think, but they all lost interest as soon as they dropped out of that top league.
Yeah, it's a
concern. I don't see any reason why it would be any different.
Ryan, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. As I mentioned earlier on, there were so many good questions. There's only so many I could get on, but I do appreciate them. Good humour and a lot of fun in there, and creating some good debate and some great answers from these guys, especially as well. Nocky, Wednesday night, the mighty Wolverhampton Wanderers face Chelsea in the League Cup. You told us you're not going. You can't help it. You'll be going in the end. So what is the manager going to do differently on Wednesday, Nocky? Is he ringing the changes? Is it a complete rinse and repeat? Or is he that desperate for when he tries to play his strongest team, whatever that is?
It might sound bad, but I genuinely couldn't give a crap what he does. Honestly, I couldn't care less what he does. I don't care who plays. I don't care who lines up. I don't care who's at front or at the back. I genuinely do not care who he plays. If you're going to make me answer it, you would assume Tolo would come in, although he doesn't like him, so it's likely to be Strand Larsen again. We need to win a game again, don't we? The Cup's the only thing we've really had to cling on to this season. So I think he'll go strong. We haven't got much of a choice but to go strong. But surely you've got to give Fer Lopez some minutes. You've got to give Tolu some minutes.
I think Wang
Start
starts on
back
the left.
in.
I think Wang starts on the left. I think Tolo goes down the middle. Fer Lopez on the right, where he wants to cut inside. He'll have the two inverteds. Joe Gomez is going to start, isn't he? You'd imagine Agbadou comes back in.
You'd assume so, but they'll rest players. But you're talking Chelsea here, aren't you? Whatever squad they put out is going to be really, really difficult for us to get anything against. I'd like to see some of the other players given a little bit of a run. Can some of them start knocking on the door and staking a claim for a shirt regularly? So I've got a feeling it's going to be pretty similar to what we've already seen in the last couple of games. But I'm hoping there's a few changes in there and maybe a little bit of fresh impetus in there, and people who perhaps deserve an opportunity now rather than just rinse and repeat the same players who are letting us down week in, week out.
Yeah, the fact that I am for Huang starting in the week just to mix things up tells you pretty much where we're at. I want to see him win. I want to see him go for it, and he has been abysmal. But Rodrigo hasn't done anything, so it's time to shake it. It's a cup game, and the last time we had a cup game, do you know what? We found a formula, and then we went on and we're unfortunate not to win a couple of games. So we need to do it again. I think Agbadou needs to be back involved again. There is a fantastic footballer in Agbadou. I don't know where he's gone, but we saw last season there is a fantastic player when he's fully switched on. Let's get him back in and have a look. I think you probably see Matt Doherty back in the squad if he's fully fit. Moller Wolf starts. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because I've not seen anything from him at all. But I do think we'll see him freshen it up. I just don't see how he doesn't. This is when we lost the game last time, didn't he? There was a big shake-up for the Everton game, and it just worked. But Tyler, after we've won 2-0 and gone into, is it the quarterfinal then, is it? I don't know. Either way, after we've won 2-0 on Wednesday night, we play Fulham away on Saturday afternoon. This is going to be a tough game. I know we had a bit of a result there last year. I think Cunha scored a couple of fantastic goals, and it was probably Wolves' standout away performance. Particularly, I think they went down to 10 men and we got 4 later on in the game. But are we basing Wednesday night's performance to see if people take their chance before we pick the team? Or do you think the manager will already have a team ready for Saturday now?
I personally think he's got to revert back to type, and whether that backfires on him, that's down to him, isn't it? Live by the sword, die by the sword. But I think you just have to start your players that you think you can hope you can rely on, and Agbadou's certainly one of those. I can't stand Toto Gomez, but I think you just got to go back to that back three. You've got to get some pace, some athleticism in the team somewhere. You've just got to try something, haven't you? And like you said, he stumbled across it against Everton. Fulham are a pacey side. They've got good options. I think if we go there with a back four of Santi and Krejci, I think it's lambs to the slaughter, to be honest. And I think we'll get beat. I think we get beat either way. The one thing they're not great at is defending. I saw a lot of their highlights against Newcastle, and they were shocking at the back. So you'd probably go there with a slight bit of hope. But on with Nokia, I think we're at the point now it don't really matter who plays or who starts or who comes on. It's a toxic environment, and players just aren't going to thrive in that environment. But I would mix it up. I would change it, especially for Wednesday night. But I don't think it really matters, if I'm brutally honest.
The one thing I would say, though, about facing Fulham on Saturday, Tyler, is that you talked about Fulham's defensive frailties. They can be got at in behind. There's no question about that. But
If you've got pace.
The one thing you can't do is pump the ball in when you're facing Issa Diop and Calvin Bassey. Calvin Bassey will not lose a single physical battle.
You can have Tony players.
Ever. So if you've got someone who's actually physically taller, then you've got a chance. Strand Larson has been absolutely bullied left, right and centre. Calvin Bassey will be licking his lips at the thought of that game. So we need to think about what we're doing, because if you pump balls into the box and over the top, you're not going to stop Diop and Bassey. You're going to get absolutely dominated. So Wolves, for me, again, this is just...
You've got to go Tony and Pang as a two, then, haven't you?
Again, this is just three punters having a chat on a podcast. Nocky, you called what was going to happen the weekend. All right, Tyler, you talked about it at Sunderland, and when we needed a bit of pace last week. It's just three guys having a chat. We know how Fulham operate. If you go physical against their back two, you're going to get dominated. You can play in behind them. The manager needs to earn his money and find a plan, and not just keep pumping it forward, because it's just not going to work against those teams. I think a lot of people will get a chance on Wednesday. And I think, like with the Everton game, if they take their chance, they'll be in the team on Saturday afternoon. I don't think he's got a choice. I think there's a lot of dress rehearsals on Wednesday. And I think hopefully if they take it, we'll see. Again, as you boys say, we need to roll the dice because we need to come up with a formula to win a game soon, even just to enjoy a game again, never mind staying up, just trying to get off the mark. We are almost at the end of the show and it is prediction time. Before we go on to the predictions, again, I want to thank the 2,060 live listeners we've got across all formats. Your support is much appreciated. We haven't won for 6 months and we've got over 2,000 live people following the show. That's absolutely incredible. Like, subscribe, YouTube, Twitter, X, Facebook, and up to Spotify later. Your support is very much appreciated. So thank you for that. Gentlemen, it's prediction time. I know you can't wait. Tyler, your first scorer and prediction against Chelsea in the League Cup, please.
A scorer is going to be hard because try and pick the teams, but 3-0 Chelsea, I think.
It's not even a joke anymore. It's just a deadpan straight face.
We let 3 goals in at home to Burnley, so it ain't funny if we do it to Chelsea, is it?
No, not at all. But Nocky will be there and you can tell us all about it. Nocky?
2-0 Chelsea. It'll be someone crap. It'll be someone crap and all. I'll go for Gusto. He's that sort of player, isn't it?
I'll go for Achi and Pang then if you're playing that game.
Oh God, absolute pair of horror shows. It's not going to get any better. Wolves travel to Craven Cottage, probably my favourite away day of the season when it's warm outside, have a beer. We never get them at that time of year though, do we? So, and this is a tough one. This stinks to me of Adama Traore and Raul Jimenez because that's just who Wolves are at the moment. But it's a game of football and anything can happen. So, Nocky, your prediction v Fulham v Wolverhampton Wanderers and first scorer, please. Just say it. I know you don't mean it, but just say it, Nocky.
I don't want to. I can't be positive.
The podcast needs you to tell lies now. I need you to tell lies. Just give the people something.
All right. In that case, I'll go for 3-1 Fulham because I don't actually think we'll score, but you wanted me to lie to everyone. So I'll go 3-1 Fulham. Wilson, I think, because we.
Oh, is that the guy that dives around and wins all the penalties all the time against us?
Yeah, he's crap as well, so he's got a 20-yard sprint.
I don't know. Tyler, can you give us anything at all?
3-0 Iwobi.
Oh God, I forgot about Iwobi.
He always scores.
He always scores past Wolves. Anyway, I'm gonna end the show with loads of lies that I don't believe. I said we're going to beat Chelsea 2-0 in the cup. I don't believe it. I've got to say, Tolu with a cup of tea goal. And Wolves will draw 0-0 on Saturday. This has been episode 142 of the Wolves Report. Of the Wolves.